Okay, so good day, guys. Uh, Today I will be rediscussing some of the slides which we already have started last year relative to the introductory part, on our course in abnormal psychology. So, apart from that, I will be continuing the discussion so that we could finish module one and eventually move further on our topic. So, in terms of what is it that you expect, if you recall, we actually considered defining what abnormal psychology is, what psychopathology is, no, what abnormal behavior is, no. So those are parts of what you expect, no, in this particular module. Okay, specifically, we look into the objectives of the module. And as you can see, we will also be covering the different models, no, that would explain abnormality, no, and look or take into consideration the different milestones, no, historical milestones, for that matter, pertaining to abnormal psychology. Okay, so as mentioned, um, there will be definitions that we have to consider apart from what abnormal psychology, what psychopathology is. We will also be looking into um, mental disorders or abnormal behaviors, no? And the concepts of dysfunction, distress, deviance, dangerousness, or the 4Ds as admonished by APA frameworks and as used by clinicians, no, in the practice of psychopathology. Okay, we'll also be looking into culture and social norms as part of the factors, no, that um, could in one way or the other affect how we look at behavior. Okay, so moving further, we recall. I think I gave this as an assignment last time. If you could recall, we looked into different statements and determined whether these are normal or not normal. Okay, so I think we also have answered this during our face-to-face class. So we will forego these slides um, as for this video lecture. Now, we look into we look back because these, as I mentioned, are just but recall of those that we already have covered during the past meetings. No? So, um, I would like to emphasize again that our course is abnormal psychology, and if you look into these and to this particular sub-discipline of psychology because um, in your intro to psych, you have learned that abnormal psychology is one of the sub-disciplines of psychology. So we look into the very words that compose abnormal psychology, and that would be abnormal and psychology. So psychology for sure is not new to you because you were majoring into psychology. So it's a scientific discipline, no, that considers the study of human behavior and mental processes. And along this would be the goals of predicting, explaining, um, and even controlling. No? I think if you recall, no, in your intro to psych, you might have heard about the goals, the four goals of psychology. That would be to describe, to explain, um, to predict, and even to change or to control behavior. Okay, so this we connect it to abnormal, and the concept of abnormal is something that is not normal or something that deviates from the norm. Okay? So, taking these two words together, okay, um, we have abnormal psychology as the scientific study of abnormal behavior with the intent to be able to reliably predict, explain, diagnose, identify the causes of, and treat maladaptive behavior. Okay? So, you could see here in the elements, no? I mean, the four goals of psychology, integrating it to our understanding of abnormal behaviors. Okay? So, we have to therefore look back into the concept of abnormal behavior again. And I think the activity I had given you earlier um, could help you distinguish whether or not a behavior is normal. Okay? So, when the behavior deviates from the norm, because you see when we make use of the 4Ds as yardstick to um, determine whether a behavior is normal or not, no? And deviance is one of it. When the behavior deviates from the standard norm, no, or the standard way of behaving in a particular culture or community, no, we could somewhat say that that behavior is abnormal. So there are yardsticks, or there are certain indicators, no, as to whether a behavior is normal or not. Though in this course, what we will be most interested with would be the classifications of abnormal behavior. And we have the DSM-5, PR, and the ICD as our tawag dyan, framework, no, in classifying mental disorders or abnormal behaviors. Okay? So, when abnormal behaviors become pathological, no, or clinical, that means it warrants a diagnosis. Okay? And that this diagnosis, of course, is premised, no, from certain assessments, no, clinical or psychological for that matter. um, uh, the the end goal of which is the treatment of this pathological behaviors, no? That refers to the scientific study of psychological disorders, also known as psychopathology. Okay? So, moving further, we have the 4Ds as our criteria for defining abnormality, no, or abnormal behaviors. No? And that these 4Ds, no, had been actually advocated by frameworks like the American Psychiatric or Psychological Association, no? Um, and even clinicians in general actually refer unto or utilizes this criteria, no, in determining whether or not a behavior is normal. Okay? So, what are these criteria apart from the 4Ds, no? So we have cultural relativism criterion, no, that speaks of the norms of a particular culture, no? The standard way of behaving, no? So that if a behavior or if the acts of a person deviates from the norm or from these cultural references, no, we could somewhat say that there is deviance, and that therefore it is not normal. Okay? It is atypical from the norm. Okay? Unusualness criterion. Okay? So there is bizarre. There is it's a rare act or behavior. Oh? So it's something that is bizarre. Okay? So unusual. I'm sure you know you could somewhat decipher whether a behavior is usual or unusual. No? Okay? So um of course there are certain um criteria or indicators that we use as our reference. No, again, we go back onto our cultural norms. We go back onto um, those that we have learned. No, for instance, those that are contained in um, formal frameworks like the DSM or the ICD for that matter. Okay? Discomfort criteria, people suffer as a result of the behavior. Okay? So there is if we look into the 4Ds, no? Ano ba ang katapat nito sa 4Ds? There is distress. There is distress. Okay? On the part of the person. Okay? Um, the distress or there can be distress or that there can also be dysfunction on the part of the person, although of course that's more of the maladaptive criterion. Okay, so um, mental illness criterion, no, when the behavior results from a mental illness. Of course, the very reference that we can use is the DSM-5 or even the ICD-10 to um, um, give us the concept that uh, indeed this is a pathological disorder. Okay. And then we also have maladaptiveness criterion, as what I've mentioned, if there is a dysfunction on the part of the person. If areas or spheres of the life of the person, no, are put at stake, no, and therefore rendering the person unable to adapt well or to function well in the environment. Okay? So, um, this leads us to the 4Ds, no? And what are these 4Ds? I think you already know this because as I mentioned, this is just but a review. We have discussed this in detail during the past meetings. No, I'm just recapitulating so that the, all the slides in this presentation would still be covered, no, in this video lecture. So looking back, we mentioned about dysfunction, no, as what one of the 4Ds, no. If we look into the DSM-5, no, there is no general statement, no. I mean, no definition that actually captures, no, all aspect of psychological, mental, or even abnormal disorders, no. Enhance clinicians or even the APA, no, would consider this for this, particularly when uh, we refer to psychological disorders, no. So one of which, as we mentioned, is dysfunction. If there is a significant, no, disturbance in the functioning of the individual cognitively, emotionally, and behaviorally, or even socially, you know, when um, he is unable to relate well, the relationships that he or she has with people around him is impaired, and therefore um, making him maladaptive, no. So this is considered as a dysfunction, and you could see here in an example, no, of an employee whose performance in his or her work is impaired, no, because of what, siguro severe stress, and unable him to cope um, with whatever it is that um, he has to do, no? So in terms of his responsibilities or siguro at work or at home, no? So if this is not resolved, then um, this may render the person as dysfunctional individual. Okay? Another is distress. So when we experience a situation, no, which is considered as a disabling condition, no, and it actually brings about suffering, no, emotional, psychological, or even physical in nature, no, this is somewhat distressing, no. So examples of this is, for instance, when uh, there's a death of a loved one, no, definitely that would be a very painful experience, no, when you fail in examinations or in your grades, when you receive failing marks, no, it's just but normal that um it's just but normal that um we experience frustrations. I mean, we feel frustrated, we feel sad, no, um, um, there is pain in this experience, no, and it causes us a sort of emotion, or um, yeah, it is emotionally distressing, in short. Okay, so next is deviance, no, and I think I kept mentioning on this concept, and I'm sure you also get this point, no, when our behavior is not in conformity, or does not conform to the typical way of behaving in a culture or in a community, then there is deviance. Okay? So, for instance, in the culture of the East or the Eastern world, no, to which the Philippines belong, no, yung public display of affection, di ba? Although, of course, we are, I mean, um, there is culture also is changing along with the change of time. No, but still, we still hold that ano yung tawag dyan? Parang thought of being, ano ba yung parang Maria Clara ba na kultura, na meron pa ring we frown away from, or we frown rather from um, situations na kung saan makikita mo masyadong um, ano ba tawag diyan? Ah, Hindi naman siguro exhibitionist, no? Yung masyadong nagpapakita ng ah, di nga love kung minsan parang alam niyo yun, siguro you could get what I'm saying, no? When you see people, or a couple, for example, kissing torridly in a public area, no? 'Di ba parang ikaw pa ang mahihiya. No? Yan ay kung ikaw ay Pinoy, no? Pero kapag Westerner yan, parang that's just but a normal occurrences. In fact, you could see Westerners even um, um, going beyond kissing, no, in public places, no. So you might have heard of stories of Westerners having their vacation in Boracay na talagang PDA, no. Pero sa atin, sa kultura natin, medyo ano ba yan, um, ano ba kasing term yon, yung parang meron pa tayong meron pa tayong ganong klase ng values, yung parang may pa-demure effect pa tayo, 'di ba? Okay, so that is typical in the Philippines. Okay? And then dangerousness, no? When the person already displays acts that put the life of the person himself or herself or others in danger, no? When it costs the safety of the person or others, no, that is no longer normal, especially if there are suicidal attempts or nung pag-aamok, no? Para kumbaga parang hindi lang manakit, kung minsan ay talagang pumatay pa, no? So these are not normal occurrences, and in relation to the dangerousness criteria, no, this is one of the indicators that the behavior is no longer normal. Okay, so psychological disorders, usually we use the term normal behavior with that of psychological disorder, with that of mental disorder, no? So, pag kapag ang pinag-usapan natin ay si psychopathology, yan, ang ginagamit na term ay psychological disorders, no? Um, I think I made mention on this already, no? So, we also have concepts like etiology or the causes of the disorder. And we will be discussing in a while as we proceed onto that specific slide, no, about the concept of etiology. Okay? So, according to APA, a psychological disorder consists of, okay, that there is or that there are significant disturbances in thoughts, in feelings, and in behaviors. So, ano yan ABC, no? Um, affective, cognitive, and behavioral. Okay? So, okay, so based on the APA, a psychological disorder consists of significant disturbances in thoughts and feelings and behaviors. As I was explaining, this actually points onto the ABCs, no, affective, cognitive, and behavioral aspect. Okay, so definitely there are some kind of dysfunction that goes along with these disturbances in the cognitive, affective, and the behavioral component. And this could be traced um, from biological, psychological, or even developmental roots. Okay? And that these disturbances definitely would cause dysfunctions, no? Or distress on the part of the one suffering from such psychological disorder. Okay? And that this actually does not reflect expected or culturally approved responses to certain events. In short, that there is some sort of deviance, no, in the case. And hence, we could see therefore the for this uh, interplaying in this definition of psychological disorder. Okay? Now we move on to the historical perspectives on abnormality. And herein, we talk about the theories. And this would be the same theories, no, that we will be referring unto when we when we look into the etiology or the causes of psychological disorders or abnormal behaviors. Okay, so when we say abnormality or abnormal behavior specifically, no, it it may actually be rooted from the physiology, from our physiology, meaning to say that it has physical causes, no, like our illnesses, like the illnesses or the diseases that we suffer from, say for instance diabetes, um, uh, hypertension, no? This can be explained physiologically, no? So based on what's happening on our body. Okay? So in the biological theory, it points unto the mechanisms, the processes actually that happens inside our um, nervous system and our endocrine system. Because if we look into the different systems of the body, those that has to do with um, psychological disorders or those that has to do with mental processes, no, and yeah, would all would all point unto the nervous system, no, and the endocrine system, no. So anyway, we will be expounding on this later. And then the supernatural theories, of course, believe on what? On the existence of spirits, no? And when one is possessed by an evil spirit and may which may actually um cause the manifestation of bizarre behaviors when one is possessed, no, I mean demonic possession, no, by bad spirits or evil spirits. And this is where the supernatural theory comes in. Okay, and psychological theories of course would point unto our experiences, the traumas that we have suffered from or we have encountered, no, along the growth, as we grow or as we develop as individuals. Okay, the stress and all that sort of occurrences in our lives, no, that speaks of psychological theories. Okay, so these are ancient, no, I mean those historical perspectives, no, are considered the ancient view, no. Um, so yung supernatural, yun din lang yung supernatural theories na nabanggit natin kanina, yung biological, that's the somatogenic theory, and psychological, that's the psychogenic theory. Okay? So, traditionally, there is a practice in or among Greeks, which actually removes the evil spirit possessing the individual, believed to um, be manifesting bizarre behavior. So ganun kasi yung paniniwala nila noon, that when, for example, one acts unusually or atypically, that means that the person is being possessed by an evil spirit. And one of the ways, no, of removing the evil spirit is by trephination. So this actually is the practice as early as 6,500 BC, no? By among the Greeks specifically. So what happens in trephination is that they bore a hole on the skull of the person, and believing that it's through this hole on the skull where the evil spirit comes out, no? Parang exorcism, no? So, uh, to the extent of what? Um, inflicting pain on the person, no? So that the evil spirit who is inside or who is possessing the person would be purged out of the system or of the body of the person. And this is believed to be a very inhumane way of of dealing with persons with mental illnesses. Okay, but anyway, that was the practice, um the traditional practice. Okay, So we also have yan still evidences of trephination, okay, um, as their way of treating um, mental illnesses. Okay, so that's um, as early as 500 BC. Then we also have the belief about the forces of the body, no? So that if there would be imbalances between the yin and the yang, no? This is among ancient Chinese, no? And should there be imbalance between these two forces of the body, then there is what? Resulting um illness mentally. Okay? So uh there must be a need of complementary approach, or that these forces must be complementing each other. Otherwise, it may lead to what we call mental illness or insanity. Okay? Then we also have the different figures that actually have um, significant contributions on our understanding of mental illnesses, and even um, um, with their advocacies and initiatives on um, making some sort of revolutionary approach, no, in the treatment of mental disorders. Okay, so we have Hippocrates, for instance. I'm sure you know Hippocrates. You might have heard his name. If you recall, um, he was the one who proposed about the bodily humors. No? So, kung naalala nyo yung choleric, sanguine, phlegmatic type of personality, which comes as a result of the deposits of this bodily humors in our or of this humors in our body, no? So should there be oversecretion or oversupply of, for instance, these um, bodily humors, it has corresponding effects on um, how we act or on our mental state. Okay, and hence treatment also um, considers what bleeding, purging, okay, restraints, okay. So some some of which are inhumane. Siguro hindi masyadong usual na pamamaraan ng um, tawag diyan, pag-treat ng mga mental disorders. Kasi nga yung paniniwala nila of the bodily humors. Okay? So, in the Middle Ages, there had been improvements as to how mental disorders are being treated, though there is still is what occurrences of inhumane practices. Okay, so um, uh, there is a proliferation of what inhumane approach, no, in the treatment of mental disorders. Although there is um there are some sort of innovations like the establishment of asylums and shrines. However, still the practices in these asylums and shrines are inhumane for that matter. Okay? So it's in the 18th and 19th century where there is a movement from inhumane treatment to a one which considers the humanity of the person. So there is a consideration on um, on how people with mental illnesses are being treated in such a way that um, there is a movement towards moral treatment. Okay, so persons like Quaker William Tooke actually was the one who established the retreat. No? Okay, and it is this is as a response to the inhumane or to the brutal treatment being experienced by people with mental illnesses. And especially so when Dorothea Dix, no, um, who had initiative on how mental patients should be treated humanely. Okay, so you'll come to see this as we proceed onto the next slides. Okay, so yan. We mentioned about, okay, so we look also onto the concept of disease, the disease model, no, as one of the models to which we understand normal behavior. So, yung disease model, kung babalikan niyo yung theories, this also speak of the biological theories. Okay? Biological theories. Kasi it treats mental illness as a disease. No? So there's something wrong with the body or with the system, particularly the nervous system and the endocrine system. Okay? Um, and that mental illnesses are considered as a physical disease. Okay? So yan, it involves biological or even psychological dysfunction. So like any other illnesses that we may have, um, like those that has to do with the functioning of our body, so is with mental illnesses. Okay? There's also something wrong in the physiological functioning of our systems. And hence, um, this brings about the practice of um, prescribing some sort of medicines. No? So there are specific prescriptions for particular mental disorder, taking into consideration the gravity of the condition, um, um, and some sort of factors, no? Like perhaps lab results, no? So katulad ng kapag tayo ay na-diagnose ng isang sakit, halimbawa ay cancer, um, merong mga karampatang lunas, depende sa klase ng ating diagnosis. Okay, so parang ganun po itong disease model. Okay? And then we also have the humanism, behaviorism, the behaviorism model, no? There had been what? There had been a consideration on um, how people are conditioned, no? The use of reinforcement and punishment. Okay? That the concept that that behaviors can be modified. No? So hence there can be possibilities for prediction or for control of behavior. Okay? So, uh, we also have, ayan, psychoanalysis, okay? And humanism perspective, no? Through the works of Maslow and Rogers. So, dito, mas nagkaroon na ng mas tawag dyan, humanistic na approach sa kung paano tinitreat ang mental disorder. Okay? So, yeah. Then came positive psychology through Seligman, no? Um, there had been uh, some sort of researches and studies um, which make use of okay, so the next slide will simply show us the historical timeline, okay, in terms of understanding abnormal behavior. So you could see here in as we have previously touched in the previous slides, from the disease model up to um, that era of the proliferation of the positive psychology. Okay, so in here, the very distinct um, characteristic, no, of this historical timeline is the moving towards a more humane treatment or perspective on mental illnesses. Now, okay, so this I think is just but a repetition of the previous slides, although there are some other persona or characters, no, who played vital role in letting us understand abnormal behavior. But nevertheless, those that we have emphasized in the previous slides, I think is just um, um, the focus of these slides. Okay? So, ayan. We mentioned about William Took already, okay, who opened the retreat or the York retreat, no, which sought to provide humane treatment um, for people with mental illnesses in the 18th century. And then we also have Franz Gall, G. Stanley Hall, and even Simon Freud. Okay, all of them actually um, uh, had the had initiatives on, if not on treatment, on our understanding about the causes of mental illnesses. And then I think I also have mentioned about Dorothea Dix. Okay. So um, we also have Carl Rogers, and then the DSM first publication in 1952. Then we have the um, perspectives, the psychogenic and the somatogenic. I think this has been emphasized also in the previous slides. Okay? Then, ayan. Now we move on to the next subtopic that is on classifying mental disorders. Okay, so herein we are looking into the systems of classification, and this is where DSM-5 or the DSM um, is uh, this is where it comes in. Okay, when we talk about classifications, no, we bring into the picture the concept of nomenclature. Okay, nomenclature. Okay, and um, nomenclature, of course, refers to the naming system, no, which enables us to structure information in a more helpful manner. So for clinicians and even researchers, no, to have a common language, no? Para meron tayong kapag ang pinag-usapan natin halimbawa ay schizophrenia o di kaya ay mga neurodevelopmental disorders, iisa lang ang pag-intindi natin dahil meron tayong common language on it. Meron tayong ginagamit na reference natin, no? So, um, this with this comes the DSM-5 or the DSM and even the ICD I had as I kept mentioning. Okay? So moving further, what it meant by classification, when we classify, is it not that we organize? The purpose of why we classify disorders is because we wanted to organize them, we wanted to categorize them. Okay? So if you go back into the um, course guide that I had given you, okay, um, those classifications of disorders per module, okay, that is what it meant there, no? Um, we look into, for instance, mood disorders. So mood disorder is a classification, and under this would be the different mood disorders. So we wanted to look into what's common among these specific disorders, which make them fall under mood disorders. So that's a classification. That is what it meant by classifying. We organize them. We it is being provided a nomenclature, no? Or a naming system, and the very bottom line is for this is for the purposes of making us understand this specific disorders or group of disorders in a manner that is meaningful, meaning to say we come to understand the characteristics of this group of disorder, the even the differences between and amongst these specific disorders under this particular classification or group, and uh, the prognosis, no, um, the different diagnostic criteria. Okay, so all of this come into interplay when we talk about classification. Okay, now we have epidemiology. Okay, so what is epidemiology? It's the scientific study of the frequency and causes of diseases and other health-related states in a specific population. So, the epidemiology, for example, of depression um, among Asian countries. No? So the rate as to the occurrence, the frequency of these disorders being observed in Asian countries, for instance. No? So, um, makikita natin no, sa pagbabasa natin ng mga literatures, yung DSM-5 halimbawa, makikita mo kung anong specific population usually usually mas nag-aakar ang ganitong klase ng disorder. Okay, so that speaks of epidemiology. Anong age group, no? Um ito ba ay common among um children, among adults kaya? Okay? So, ayan. Now, epidemiology, in epidemiology, we have psychiatric or mental health epidemiology. So, the occurrence of mental disorders in a population. So, ito yung binabanggit ko kanina, yung particular age group, no, ng ah, ng inaapektuhan ng ah, disorder na ito. Okay, so when we talk about psychiatric or mental health epidemiology, no, it looks into the occurrence of mental disorders in a particular population. Okay, so um, as we have mentioned earlier, no, when we generally talk about epidemiology, no, it looks into what specific group, community, culture, or population is affected, no, by a particular mental disorder, no? Or mental illness, no? The distribution of mental disorders, no, in a particular population, no? Like what particular um, population in the Asian country, for example, no, is more susceptible to a particular to a particular or a specific mental illness, no. Like in the Philippines, for example, no, in terms of epidemiology, um, we are more likely there is a propensity, a high propensity for depression, for anxiety, and even cases of suicide in the Philippines. Okay, so it not only looks into the etiology or the cause, no, but even into the distribution, no, of these disorders in a particular population. Okay. Now, another concept is presenting problem. Okay? The specific problem that is presented by a patient. Okay? Parang kung sa counseling sana yan, there's always a presenting issue. Okay? So, is it not na kapag tayo nagpa-check up, meron tayong um, ano ba tawag dito, meron tayong information na dinidisclose sa doktor. Anong part ba ng katawan ang masakit, no? So ganun din itong presenting problem, no? Ano ba yung cause, no? Ano ba yung observation mo in terms of the behavior, no? Um, which is part of the disclosure of the patient, no? In terms of what siguro observations is there or are there, no? As to siguro halimbawa sa functioning niya, no? Um, halimbawa kapag feeling niya, pakiramdam niya, wala siyang motivation, wala siyang na-accomplish within the day, no? No matter what tawag diyan, effort or siguro uh, extrinsic or even intrinsic motivators, wala siyang gana, wala siyang mapoproduce na output within the day. So affected ang kanyang productivity, affected ang kanyang um, relationships, no? So pwedeng ito yung mga presenting problem. Okay? And then clinical description, no? So when the patient discloses to the uh, psychologist or even to the psychiatrist, no, about his presenting problem, no, um, this this is actually one of those the clinician considers, no, okay, one of the considerations of the clinicians, no, in trying to come up with a comprehensive diagnosis, no? So ginagawa ito actually sa part ng assessment. Pag ang kliyente, pag ang pasyente ay nagpa-check up, for example, because of some issues like di ako nakakatulog, wala akong ganang kumain, um, pakiramdam ko nag-hallucinate ako, halimbawa mga ganon, no? Um, nag-undergo yung patient ng assessment, no? So clinical assessment. Okay? The the psychiatrist may order the patient to go for laboratories, no? May mga titingnan yan na uh, specific lab results plus the results of the uh, neurological or the psychological exam, no? Pwedeng neurological, pwedeng psychological exam. So, mag-undergo siya ng psychological assessment, okay? At merong clinical interview na tinatawag, no? Doon sa clinical interview, Okay? I-take note yan ng psychologist, ng attending psychologist. Okay? So, um, tatanungin ng psychologist kung kamusta yung pasyente, ano ba ang naobserbahan niya, at kapag yung pasyente hindi mo makausap ng matino, yung um, nearest relative ng pasyente, no? Ah, na kasama niyang nagpa-check up, no? Usually ganun ang cases, no? So when I had my internship at um when I had my internship at the behavioral med, um part of what I observed is um if the patient, if you cannot extract relevant information from the patient, the um, the relative of the patient who accompanied him or her during the checkup ang kakausapin. Okay? Okay, so anyway, I'll be showing you later on guide, parang yung interview. uh, there is a term that is being used in the clinical setting of what is used at the behavioral med to extract information like this. So we'll look into that as we move on to that particular slide. So this clinical description includes information about thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that constitute the mental disorder. So yung psychologist or yung in charge sa psych assessment, no, kapag kasi psych assessment, meron silang mga psychometricians, no, na in charge. So, yung psychometrician ang nagpapa-exam, ginagawan niya ng result, tapos pino-forward nila sa psychologist. And then, um, uh, these are all taken into consideration by the psychiatrist, no, apart from siguro that comes from uh, the report that comes from the psychologist. Okay? And then we also have prevalence, the percentage of people in a population that has a mental disorder or can be fit as the number of cases per some number of people. So, how prevalent is the disorder? Okay? How, yeah, I think that's the pronunciation. How prevalent is the disorder. So, makikita ninyo itong mga information na ito kapag nag-refer kayo sa DSM. Makikita ninyo merong um, information as to how much or how many percent, no, um, 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 in a particular population. Halimbawa, kung sa Western, kasi syempre ang mga data pag sa DSM-5 Western yan, no? So, how much of the how much how many percent rather how many percent of the total population, for example, in US is affected by this particular disorder. So parang ganun yung concept ng prevalence. Okay, and then we also have point prevalence, the proportion of a population that has the characteristic at a specific point in time, no? Or the number of active cases. Parang nung COVID lang, no? The point prevalence, no? At what specific time or month of the year, no, is it the highest point, no? Parang ganun. So, the number of active cases for a particular disorder. I think yung point prevalence din ng depression o ng kahit especially depression and anxiety, no? During the pandemic is high, tama ba? So that refers to point prevalence. And then we have period prevalence. the proportion of a population that has occurred at any point during a given period of time, typically the past year. I think parang yun ata yung ina-explain ko kanina, no? The period prevalence. Okay? So when we talk of point prevalence, we just simply talk about the number of active cases. And then the lifetime prevalence, no? So ito yung um, the proportion of a population that has had the characteristic at any time during their lives. Okay? And then the incidence, the number of cases at a specific period of time. Okay? The incidence. Ayan. Okay, comorbidity. I think ang meron sa DSM is yung prevalence, comorbidity, yan, etiology. Okay? So, nung pandemic, nauso din yung concept ng comorbidity, di ba? When there occurs two or more illnesses at the same time. Okay? So, di ba, nung pandemic, ang mas susceptible na maapektuhan ng virus ay yung may mga comorbidity. Ibig sabihin, meron ng mga dating sakit. Okay? So, this also goes, or this also is true in mental illnesses. There can be a possibility that while you may be clinically diagnosed for depression, there are other mental illnesses that you can be diagnosed of, no? Along with what? Along with depression. So, more than two illnesses at the same time and in the same person. At syempre, yung etiology, yung cost. No? So, pag sinabing etiology, it can be psychogenic, somatogenic, okay? And it can also be something that, I think, parang yun yung pinaka main perspective, no? Psychogenic, if it has to do with the experiences of the person psychologically, and then somatogenic if it has to do with the functioning of the body of the person or of the physiology of the person. Okay? And then course, no? Hindi ito hindi ito yung abnormal psych o yung anumang subjects na meron kayo na ang technically ang tawag natin ay course, no? But this refers to the particular pattern of the disorder. Okay? So if it is acute, no? Parang parang how severe, no? How severe is the disorder? How the gravity of the disorder. Okay? So acute if it lasts a short period of time, while chronic if it lasts a longer period of time. Okay? So kung lifetime siguro yan, that's chronic, no? And then time limited if there is a recovery that occurs in a short period of time irrespective of the treatment. Okay? And then we also have prognosis. So kasama din ito sa mga nakikita sa DSM-5. Mas makaka-relate kayo later on pag tinatch natin na yung mga disorders. Kasi makikita ninyo ang mga concept na to. So, the anticipated course, the mental disorder will take. Okay? So, you will find out that each of the disorders in the DSM-5 has a specific prognosis. Ibig sabihin, can there be, can the patient anticipate, can he or she anticipate, what can he or she anticipate, no? So, can this disorder, can there be a possibility that disorder may worsen, okay? Given the particular context of the patient, okay? What can be predicted, sort of what can be predicted when a person undergoes treatment in this particular disorder. Parang kung cancer sana na stage 4, ano yung prognosis niya? Ano yung possibility na mag-improve o mag-worse yung condition ng patient. So, ganon din po sa mental illness, no? Later on, you will find out that even in terms of treatment, makikita mo kung ano yung direksyon ng disorder, no? Um, Kapag halimbawa, um, ginamitan na yan ng electroconvulsive therapy, no? Ibig sabihin, to the severe degree yung case ng patient. Kasi hindi na siya nagre-respond sa oral medication lang, no? Na to the extent na kailangan na niya ng ECT, no? So things like this. And then we also have treatment, any procedure intended to modify abnormal behavior into normal behavior. And you will find out that in each of the mental illnesses, there are specific treatments. I mean, oral treatments and even therapeutic approaches, no? So, bakit ba nauso yung CBT, dialectic therapy, no? Maraming mga therapies na ngayon, no? Um, na ano yun, yung ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, DBT, CBT, marami ng mga nagsisisulputang mga therapies, no? At ito ay kasama doon sa innovations on treating mental illnesses. Okay? Okay, so I have here in a sample case. You may just want to read that and try to look into how these reflect those that were emphasized in the different slides. Okay? So I'll cut it here. I think this is ayan. So dito pala yung ano yung sample nung mga pinagsasabi nating concepts, yung mga pinag-explain nating concepts kanina, no? O applying the case of Ella. Okay? So, ayan, the presenting problem, the description of the presenting problem, the prevalence, incidence, the comorbidity, and the nomenclature. So, dito sa nomenclature ay babanggitin na natin yung clinical diagnosis. I mean, the possible clinical diagnosis based on the information that were called from the patient. And based, of course, on the diagnostic criteria, pagbabanggain mo yon, titingnan mo kung ito yung sinasabi ng pasyente, ito yung resulta ng assessment niya, at ito yung sinasabi ng DSM-5. No, titingnan mo ngayon and then you come up with a diagnosis. Okay? So, yan. And after diagnosis, no, you will of course consider also the causes, the course, the prognosis, and the treatment. Okay? So you may just want to, okay, siguro. I think this will form part of your assignment later on. So I'll cut it here. This is the end of the slide. I will discuss the other module again through a video lecture so that um, we could facilitate no the completion of the discussions. Okay, considering that we had a long vacation. So anyway, if you were able to reach this part of the slide, congratulations. That means to say you stayed up till the end. And if you were able to do that, then this is the end part. Um, this is what I'll be asking you to submit. First meeting in January. That would be 19, 20, 21, 23, January 23 for submission. For submission of this output during the first face-to-face class. Okay, in 2026. Okay, so Good day and a blessed New Year to everyone.